Welcome back. Fresh records as we head closer to the new year. The Dow hitting another all-time high today, on track for its 7th record close of the month. The S&P getting closer to hitting record territory as well. Brian, you got to tell us, though, what's going on with Boeing?
Yeah, so the FAA is warning the 737 MAX airplanes are being inspected for potential loose bolts in their rudder control system. That does not sound good. The agency will consider additional action based on new discoveries. It's the manufacturer's best-selling jetliner, so I think they want this thing to be screwed in tightly. So far, airlines say there will be no operational impact. Jackie, we shall see.
Yeah, absolutely. Meantime, the pulse of the people. We're less than 3 weeks away from the Iowa caucuses. So how are battleground state voters feeling ahead of the 2024 race? Joining us now are 3 business owners: Iowa voter Pennie Carroll, Georgia voter Jon German, and Arizona voter Jorge Rivas. Great to have you all with us. Thank you so much. Jorge, I'm going to start with you and the great state of Arizona. We take a look in 2020 and we can see Joe Biden won Arizona by a very small margin, 49.4% to Trump's 49.1%. He won Georgia by a small margin. Trump was able to pull it out in Iowa. As we go into 2024, we're thinking about the big issues. These are very, very close races, and they probably will be very close again if we've got the same 2 candidates on the ticket. So what are the things that are driving you to the polls, the issues that you care about right now, and how the candidates that are out there stack up on them?
As a business owner, I really care what's happening, because right after Joe Biden took office, everything doubled in price. After he shut down the oil production, price of gasoline went up. And we know that once the gasoline goes up, everything goes up. And our prices have doubled. Some items have tripled. So for a small restaurant like ours, which is what they call a mom and pop restaurant, for us it's very difficult because our bottom line is being pushed down, and we cannot afford to keep like this. And for Americans that really care about this country, they need to realize that Joe Biden, not only in 2020, his mental decline was already bad. I mean, by now, 3 years later, 4 years later, the poor guy can barely walk. Yeah. I mean, how dare you, people out there who call themselves American, are really, trying to think or thinking of voting for someone who cannot even, walk, let alone think, and let alone lead the greatest country in this world. Come on, people, let's be real. Let's care for our kids, for our future.
Good point, Jorge.
So I'm very looking forward to voting for someone who really loves and has the capacity to lead this nation and keep it as great as it has been for so many years.
Great points, Jorge, and sorry to get in your way on that. Pennie, I want to go to you. You're in Des Moines, Iowa. I was there just a couple months ago talking to voters, and I was actually surprised to hear how much the border was on their minds. I know that's a big issue for you as well, Pennie. Talk about why that's motivating you in this election cycle.
It's huge. Why not let Donald Trump come back in, finish the job that he was going to do, and protect our borders? I would say that probably the majority of us lock our doors at night before we go to bed. Why are we locking our borders? We're hearing reports of all these busloads of people coming into Washington, D.C., into Chicago. And it is affecting our business. In some ways, it's affecting it in a good way, because people from California, from Minnesota, are coming to the Midwest to live because it's safe. But yeah, borders is #1 for me.
All right, Pennie, thank you so much. I want to bring it over to Jon, who's from Georgia. Jon, we have all 3 of you are business owners, we know, and you represent the majority of business, which is small business owners. So the economy, border security, all important. When you look at the candidates for you, Jon, who is the pull away for you? And if it is Donald Trump, which I think it is there anyone else that's grabbing your attention at this point?
Quite frankly, I'm a Trump supporter, and I'm not afraid to admit it, like a lot of other people are. I like what he has to offer. I really enjoy what he did in his last term in office, as far as getting gas prices down. Inflation was manageable, and as soon as Biden and the Democrats came into power, they really kind of went out of their way just to really ruin a whole lot of good things for the American people. Not for the good of not for the benefit of anybody, maybe for maybe their donors or people like that. Normal everyday working Americans, kind of like me, we're having to suffer through absurdly high gas prices, absurdly high inflation rates, constantly having to battle high prices for everything with no end in sight. There's no plan. Biden and his cohorts and the Democrat Party in general, if I can go ahead and say that, they don't really care about people like me and people like Jorge who work hard for their families. We're a mom and pop shop as well. It's just my wife and I who own and operate this business. We built it from the ground up. And, it's just ridiculous how we're just looked over, basically. Like, hey, they're having to pay, $300 a week in gas just so I can pull my food trailer here, there, and everywhere. Well, that's not taking into consideration, the price of my raw materials. The price of food has gone up. I don't have to tell anybody that. But when's the last time Biden or any of his pals went out to the grocery store, bought food for themselves and their family, and been like, man, this is really high?
It's a good question, because when meat prices were rising, he couldn't tell you what a pound of ground beef cost at the grocery store. And you make a great point. And that's because he doesn't go to the grocery store, and Hunter doesn't have to worry about the price of ground beef. Jorge, I want to come back to you, because you also talked about how much things cost and the increases that we've seen under President Biden. But I also want to ask you, being in Arizona, about the border, because that's a huge issue, too. We've got millions of people coming into this country illegally. It makes a mockery of the system for those who have come here and gone through the process legally. It also, for your state, represents safety issues, crime issues, and a drain on the state as a result of people sponging off of that system. But what was amazing to me was, in the midterms, your governor's race went to the Democrats. The Republicans were not able to pull it through. Do you think Arizona in 2024 is going to be able to come together as a group on these kinds of issues and change what's happening, in your state and in the country?
Yeah, I mean, one thing that we need to realize that now people, no matter whether they are independent or Democrat, everybody's hurting because of the policies and the policy that the Biden administration is not taking care of. They need to put people in positions that they do know what's going on. I mean, in not only in Latin America, we have 200 million people that live under the poverty level, they are poor, in other words. And these people, when they have the U.S. government, the Biden administration saying, oh, you know what, we are not going to enforce the immigration laws, so these people will come in because they're being invited to come in. So the Biden administration is playing to the radical left. They're keeping the radical left happy, and they don't care about independents or Republicans. I mean, they're a party for one group of people, and not a government for everybody. So to us, we need to
they're importing Democrat votes is what they're doing.
Well, they are. So just hold for a moment, because we've discussed it for so many times on this show that when you bring people in illegally in this way, you presume that they're going to vote Democrat. They're getting filtered through and spread out across the country. So then they have children and they stay here. That really does change the demographics of the entire country long term. Pennie, Jon, Jorge, great to have you all here. So smart, such great points of view. Thank you.
Hey, thank you guys. Trump 24.
Thank you.